There's a list of dogs so feared, so controversial, that entire countries have outlawed them. Some were bred for battle, others for protection, but many, victims of myths, bad training, and media hysteria. Are they truly dangerous, or have we been misled? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll question everything you thought you knew about dangerous dogs. Every year, thousands of dogs are taken from their homes, banned by governments, and labeled as dangerous, whether they deserve it or not. It's a reality that many dog lovers struggle to understand. Some of these breeds have been outlawed due to tragic attacks, others because of their intimidating appearance, and in some cases, for reasons that have little to do with the dogs themselves. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about defending or condemning these bans. It's about understanding them. What led to these decisions? Are these breeds truly dangerous, or is it bad ownership? And most importantly, does banning a breed actually make people safer? Before we dive into this list, here's a quick disclaimer. This video is not meant to encourage or discourage owning any specific breed. Every dog, big or small, strong or gentle, is a product of its training, environment, and care. But laws exist for a reason, or so we're told. Let's see if they hold up. So, what exactly makes a dog breed ban-worthy? Why do governments single out certain breeds while others, just as strong or just as capable, remain legal? The truth is, it's not always about the dog. The reasons behind breed bans vary from country to country, but when you break them down, they usually fall into a few key categories. And the first, no surprise, is history. Some breeds have a violent past, not because they chose it, but because humans bred them for it. Dogs like the Tosa Inu or the Fila Brasileiro were once warriors, used in battle and as guard dogs for large estates. Over time, their strength, size, and fierce loyalty turned them into symbols of protection, and in some cases, aggression. Governments saw their history and decided they were too risky to allow in modern society. Then, there's the issue of strength, physical power combined with a dangerous bite force. Let's face it, a Chihuahua might be feisty, but no one's banning them. However, a dog with a bite force of 500 psi? That's a different story. Breeds like the Cane Corso or the Borbol are incredibly powerful. If an attack happens, the damage isn't just a scratch, it can be life-altering. Governments take a simple approach. If a breed has the physical potential to cause serious harm, they place it under scrutiny. And then, there's the one factor that's almost impossible to argue against: statistics. When authorities make decisions, they rely on numbers. If a breed is frequently involved in attacks, lawmakers respond the only way they know how, by restricting or banning ownership altogether. But statistics don't always tell the full story. Were these dogs mistreated? Poorly trained? Were they defending their owners? Governments rarely ask those questions. Instead, they react. And then we get to the part that's hardest to swallow: perception. Some breeds suffer from bad publicity. A single high-profile attack, an exaggerated news story, or a viral video is enough to create fear. It doesn't matter if the breed is actually more dangerous. What matters is that people believe it is. Pit bulls, for example, are banned in multiple countries. Yet, experts argue that their temperament, when raised properly, is no different from a Labrador's. But once a breed is branded a killer in the media, that label sticks. And governments respond to fear faster than they respond to facts. So, are these bans based on logic or fear? Are they designed to protect people, or are they knee-jerk reactions? That's for you to decide. But now that we understand the why, let's look at the who. It's time to count down the most banned dog breeds around the world. Number 15. Rottweiler. Strong, powerful, unyielding. The Rottweiler is a breed that commands respect, and, in some places, fear. In many parts of the world, this dog is seen as a loyal protector. But in others, it's a restricted, heavily regulated, or outright banned breed. Let's talk about why. The Rottweiler's story begins centuries ago, tracing back to ancient Rome. These dogs weren't bred for companionship. They were warriors, protectors of livestock, and guardians of soldiers. The name Rottweiler comes from the German town of Rottweil, where these dogs became known for their unmatched strength and fearlessness. But over time, that reputation started to work against them. Here's the truth. The Rottweiler is one of the most banned breeds in the world, with restrictions in countries like Ireland, Portugal, Romania, and parts of the United States. The reason? A combination of strength, protective instincts, and, in some cases, a history of brutal attacks. But is the breed itself the problem, or is it what humans have done with it? The Rottweiler isn't just strong, it's one of the most physically powerful dog breeds on the planet. A fully grown male can weigh up to 130 pounds, packed with muscle and raw force. But what truly sets them apart is their bite. With a bite force of over 300 pounds per square inch, a Rottweiler's jaws can snap through bone. And when poorly trained, improperly socialized, or raised in an abusive environment, that power can become a danger. Unfortunately, Rottweilers have been at the center of some of the most severe dog attack cases in history. Reports of aggressive behavior, fatal bites, and violent confrontations have fueled the argument that these dogs are too risky for public ownership. But what these stories don't always tell you is what led to the attack. Experts argue that Rottweilers aren't inherently dangerous. In fact, in the right hands, they're some of the most disciplined and intelligent dogs in the world. Police forces, military units, and security teams across the globe rely on them for their loyalty, trainability, and sharp instincts. So if they can be trusted to serve and protect, why are they banned in so many places? It comes down to one thing: liability. Many governments believe that the risk of a Rottweiler in the wrong hands is too great. In cities where attacks have made headlines, authorities have responded by outlawing the breed completely, rather than focusing on irresponsible ownership. The result? In some regions, it's illegal to own a Rottweiler without a special license. In others, you can't own one at all. But does banning them really solve the problem? Or does it just shift the blame from bad owners to the dogs themselves? The debate continues. But one thing is certain: whether feared or admired, banned or beloved, the Rottweiler is a breed that will never be ignored. Number 14. Tosa Inu. It's a dog you rarely see. A breed that, in some countries, is whispered about rather than spoken of openly. A warrior in the shadows, and one of the most restricted dogs in the world. This is the Tosa Inu. Unlike many banned breeds that originated in Europe or the Americas, the Tosa Inu comes from Japan. And in its homeland, it isn't just a dog, it's a symbol of tradition, discipline, and strength. But outside of Japan, many governments don't see it that way. The Tosa Inu was bred for one purpose: fighting. In the 19th century, Japan's warriors needed a dog that could match their ideals: calm under pressure, relentless in battle, and completely silent. Unlike Western fighting dogs that growl, bark, and show aggression, the Tosa fights in silence. No snarling, no warning, just raw, disciplined power. This level of control is what makes the Tosa Inu both respected and feared. In the wrong hands, that same discipline can turn lethal. And for governments looking to eliminate risk, the history alone was enough to put this breed on the banned list. Today, the Tosa Inu is banned or heavily restricted in multiple countries, including the UK, Denmark, Australia, and Norway. In some places, it's illegal to own one at all. In others, strict laws demand special permits, muzzles in public, and fenced enclosures that meet government regulations. To many, it seems extreme. But to lawmakers, the decision was simple: a dog that was bred for battle, no matter how well trained, was considered a potential threat. But here's the part that rarely makes the headlines. Despite its history, the Tosa Inu is not a naturally aggressive breed. In fact, it's one of the most composed, level-headed dogs when properly raised. Unlike other dogs with a history of violence, the Tosa Inu doesn't lash out uncontrollably. It doesn't attack without reason. And in a stable, structured home, it can be calm, affectionate, even gentle. Yet, for most people, that doesn't matter. Its past is written in ink, and in the eyes of the law, its history outweighs its reality. The ban stays. The restrictions remain. And the breed, despite everything, carries its reputation like a mark that can't be erased. Number 13. Dogo Argentino. Built like an athlete. Engineered for the hunt. Feared by governments around the world. The Dogo Argentino is a breed that was never meant to be ordinary. This dog wasn't bred for show. It wasn't designed to be a family pet or a suburban companion. It was created for the hunt. And not just any hunt: big game, wild boar, mountain lions. In the vast landscapes of Argentina, this dog was the ultimate predator's rival, fearless and relentless. But its greatest strength also became its downfall. Many governments saw the Dogo Argentino not as a skilled hunter, but as a liability. A breed with such raw power, such unwavering determination, was considered too much of a risk. And the bans came fast. The UK, Australia, New Zealand, Denmark. Entire countries placed the Dogo Argentino on restricted lists, claiming that its potential for aggression made it dangerous for public safety. But here's what the bans don't tell you. The Dogo Argentino wasn't just bred to be strong, it was bred to be disciplined. Unlike many aggressive breeds, this dog wasn't designed to fight other dogs. It was meant to work alongside them, part of a pack, operating with precision and control. And in the right hands, it's not a threat, it's a protector. In Argentina, the Dogo is a national symbol, a guardian of both land and family. Owners describe them as deeply loyal, highly trainable, and surprisingly affectionate. Yet, outside of its home country, it's a breed that's met with fear. In many places, ownership requires strict permits, specialized training, and in some cases, isn't allowed at all. So, is the Dogo Argentino truly dangerous? Or is it another breed condemned by laws that refuse to see past its history? The answer depends on who you ask. But for now, the bans remain. And the Dogo Argentino stands as one of the most restricted breeds in the world. Number 12. Boer Bull. This is not just a dog. It's a fortress on 4 legs. A breed designed to hold its ground, to stand between danger and the people it protects. The Boer Bull, a dog so powerful, so fiercely loyal, that entire countries decided it was too much to handle. Originating from South Africa, the Boer Bull was never meant to be just a companion. It was built for survival. In the harsh landscapes of the African wilderness, farmers needed a guardian, something that could protect their land, their livestock, and their families from predators that saw no difference between cattle and humans. And that's exactly what they got. A full-grown Boer Bull can weigh over 200 pounds, pure muscle and instinct wrapped in an unshakable frame. But it's not just its size that makes it formidable. It's the mindset. This is a dog that doesn't retreat, doesn't second-guess, doesn't hesitate. When it senses a threat, it reacts. And for many governments, that was a problem. Banned in Denmark. Restricted in France. Heavily regulated in Russia and several other countries. The justification? Too strong, too protective, too unpredictable in the wrong hands. Authorities argue that a dog with this much power, if not properly trained, becomes a danger not just to strangers, but sometimes even to its owner. But talk to Boer Bull owners, and they'll tell you something completely different. They'll say that this dog isn't aggressive, it's discerning, that it doesn't lash out without reason, that it isn't reckless with its strength. That the very trait governments fear, the unwavering instinct to protect, is exactly what makes it one of the best family guardians in the world. So what's the real danger? The dog? Or the people who own it? That's the question that lingers with every breed ban, and the Boer Bull is no exception. In the wrong hands, this is a dog that can be a problem. But in the right ones, it's nothing short of a protector. A giant not ruled by aggression, but by devotion. But laws don't wait for context. And in many parts of the world, the Boer Bull remains banned, locked behind legislation that sees its strength as a threat rather than an asset. The debate continues. The bans hold. And this titan of a breed stands at the center of it all. Number 11. American Bulldog. Powerful. Muscular. Relentless. The American Bulldog is a breed that wears its strength like armor. A working dog by design, a protector by instinct. But in many parts of the world, that strength has become its curse. The American Bulldog story begins in the early days of America itself. Brought over by European settlers, these dogs weren't bred for companionship or appearance. They were bred to work. On farms, in fields, as protectors of livestock and land. This was a dog that could take down a wild boar, pull its weight on the toughest terrain, and stand firm against any threat. But history has a way of turning purpose into fear. Today, the American Bulldog is banned or restricted in countries like Denmark, Singapore, and parts of the United States. The reason? Too strong. Too determined. There is too much potential for aggression if left unchecked. And when combined with the breed's reputation from decades past, that was enough for governments to step in. There's no denying that an untrained or neglected American Bulldog can be dangerous. We're talking about a breed that can weigh up to 120 pounds, with a bite force that rivals some of the most powerful dogs in the world. But here's what those laws don't consider. The American Bulldog isn't naturally violent. It isn't naturally aggressive. It's naturally driven. This is a dog built to work. Without proper training and leadership, that drive can turn destructive. But in the right environment, it's one of the most loyal, protective, and hard-working dogs a person can own. That's the paradox. The very traits that make it valuable are the same traits that make it feared. But governments don't train dogs. They don't educate owners. They don't differentiate between a well-raised protector and a neglected liability. They only see potential risk. And so, the bans remain. In some places, owning an American Bulldog requires special permits, strict training, and constant scrutiny. In others, it's not allowed at all. So the question stands. Is the American Bulldog dangerous? Or is it simply another breed caught in the crossfire of fear and legislation? The answer depends on who you ask. But in the eyes of the law, strength without limits is strength that must be controlled. And for the American Bulldog, that control has come in the form of bans. Number 10. Fila Brasileiro. There are dogs bred to protect, dogs trained to hunt. And then, there's the Fila Brasileiro, a breed that doesn't wait for a command, that doesn't hesitate, that doesn't forget. In some places, they call it too dangerous to own. In Brazil, they call it O Chão de Guarda Perfeito, the perfect guard dog. This is not a breed for the faint of heart. Originally bred for tracking runaway slaves in colonial Brazil, the Fila Brasileiro was designed to capture but not kill. Its strength was in restraint, in control. But over time, its purpose shifted. Landowners needed a dog that could guard massive plantations from jaguars, thieves, and anyone foolish enough to trespass. And the Fila delivered. Its loyalty is unmatched, its memory, unforgiving. A Fila does not forget a face. If it perceives you as a threat, it will remember you. And it will act accordingly. That unwavering instinct to protect is what makes it one of the most feared breeds in the world. Banned in the UK. Restricted in New Zealand. Subject to ownership laws in countless other countries. Governments argue that a breed this territorial, this powerful, is too much of a liability. But Fila owners tell a different story. They'll say it's not aggression, it's loyalty. It's not unpredictability, it's intelligence. The breed doesn't attack at random. It reacts with precision. And that a Fila would rather die than let harm come to the people it loves. So where do we draw the line? At what point does a breed's protective nature turn it into a threat? That's the debate that surrounds the Fila Brasileiro. But for now, in many parts of the world, the decision has already been made. And this breed, powerful, devoted, and feared, remains behind the ban list. Number 9. Wolf Hybrid. This is where nature and domestication collide. A breed caught between two worlds. The wolf hybrid is not just a dog, and that's exactly why so many governments refuse to allow it. Part wolf, part domestic dog, these hybrids are unlike any other animal on this list. They're not bred for protection, not for work, not even for companionship in the way most people understand it. They exist in a gray area, too wild for the home, too tamed for the wild. And because of that, they've been banned in multiple countries, including Norway, Australia, and much of the United States. To understand why, you have to understand what a wolf hybrid really is. Unlike purebred dogs that generations of selective breeding have shaped, wolf hybrids carry the unpredictability of their wild ancestry. Their behavior isn't as predictable as a domestic dog's. They don't respond to training the same way. Their instincts, hunting, territorial defense, pack dynamics, remain intact. And that makes them difficult. It's not that they're naturally aggressive. It's that they think differently. A wolf hybrid doesn't react to situations like a pet. It reacts like a predator. Their tolerance for confinement is low. Their independence is high. And in the wrong situation, that can lead to disaster. The numbers speak for themselves. Wolf hybrids have been responsible for attacks that no one saw coming. Not because they were vicious, but because they followed instincts that domestic breeds no longer have. And unlike a trained guard dog, they don't attack out of protection. They don't bite out of fear. When they go for something, it's with intent. And so, governments made their decision. Many banned them outright. Others placed extreme restrictions, requiring owners to meet strict containment and licensing requirements. But for those who raise them, for those who understand them, the bans seem less about safety, and more about misunderstanding. Because at their core, wolf hybrids are not monsters. They're creatures caught in a space they never chose. Too wild for humans. Too human for the wild. And in most of the world, that means one thing: exile. Number 8. Cane Corso. The Cane Corso doesn't just walk into a room. It owns it. Silent. Calculating. A presence that demands attention without making a sound. In the world of guard dogs, This breed isn't just respected, it's feared. And in some places, it's feared enough to be banned. A direct descendant of the ancient Roman war dogs, the cane corso carries a legacy of strength and discipline. These dogs weren't bred to chase balls in the park. They were bred to guard, to protect, to stand between their owners and anything, or anyone, that posed a threat. And when they act, they do so with precision. It's this level of intensity that made lawmakers nervous. Countries like Germany, France, and the UK have placed strict regulations on cane corsos. In some areas, they require special licenses. In others, they're outright banned. The reasoning? Too strong. Too protective. Too dangerous if placed in the wrong hands. But are these dogs truly dangerous? Or are they just dangerously intelligent? Cane corsos don't react emotionally like other breeds. They don't bark without reason. They don't make empty threats. When they move, it's with purpose. And that's exactly why owners praise them as the ultimate protectors. They don't start fights, but they will finish them. And in a world where laws favor predictability, a breed this powerful, this decisive, is seen as a liability. It doesn't matter if it's gentle with family. It doesn't matter if it's highly trainable. It only matters that if something goes wrong, a cane corso is capable of ending a situation permanently. And so, the restrictions remain. In some places, cane corsos are seen as guardians. In others, they're seen as threats. But ask anyone who has owned one, and they'll tell you the same thing. This is not just a dog. This is a warrior in waiting. And for some governments, that's reason enough to keep it banned. Number 7. Perro de Presa Canario. Born on the Canary Islands. Forged in battle. Feared across the world. The Perro de Presa Canario is not just a dog, it's a statement. A breed built for power, for control, for absolute dominance over its territory. And for some countries, that was too much. Centuries ago, Spanish settlers needed a guardian, something that could protect their land from thieves, from wild predators, from anything that threatened their survival. The result? The Presa Canario. A dog with the strength to take down cattle. A dog with the endurance to withstand relentless work. A dog that wasn't just feared, but respected. But respect isn't the same as trust. And over the years, the Presa Canario's reputation shifted. No longer just a working dog, it became known for something else. Its use in illegal dogfighting rings. Its natural power was exploited. Its name became associated with violence. And with every attack, every reported incident, governments took notice. Today, the Presa Canario is banned in places like New Zealand and Australia. In others, ownership requires special permits, muzzles in public, and intense scrutiny. Officials claim that a dog this powerful, this territorial, poses too great a risk. And when it bites, it doesn't just injure, it devastates. But here's what those bans fail to mention. A Presa Canario is not reckless. It does not act without reason. It does not waste its strength. To those who train them properly, they are not threats, they are guardians. Calculated, watchful, unshakable. The very things that make them feared are the things that make them legendary. So why the bans? Is it because of what they've done? Or because of what they could do? Laws don't make distinctions. They don't see the difference between a loyal family protector and a dog used for destruction. They only see the potential for harm. And so, the Presa Canario, one of the strongest, most disciplined breeds in the world, remains behind legal barriers in much of the world. But power doesn't disappear just because it's been outlawed. And for the Presa Canario, its legacy, of strength, of loyalty, of sheer unstoppable force, will never be erased. Number 6. Doberman Pinscher. There's a reason the Doberman Pinscher is one of the most recognizable guard dogs in the world. Its silhouette alone is enough to make people stop. Tall, muscular, intimidating. A dog that looks like it was built for war. And in some places, it's treated like one. Originally bred in Germany, the Doberman was never meant to be just a pet. It was designed for a purpose: to protect, to defend, to serve. In the late 1800s, a man named Carl Friedrich Louis Doberman wanted a breed that could move fast, think faster, and fear nothing. And that's exactly what he created. This dog has been at the side of police officers, military personnel, security teams. It has saved lives. It has been a weapon, a shield, a soldier in its own right. But the same qualities that made the Doberman invaluable also made it a target for bans. Banned in Ukraine. Restricted in parts of India. Considered a dangerous breed in multiple countries. The reasons: strength, intelligence, the ability to assess a situation and react without hesitation. Governments fear what a Doberman is capable of if it falls into the wrong hands. They see a potential weapon, a liability, something they can't control. But the truth is, a Doberman is not uncontrollable. It does not act on reckless aggression. In fact, its greatest strength isn't its power, it's its mind. Highly trainable, incredibly focused, endlessly loyal. A well-trained Doberman is not a danger to society. It's an asset. But laws don't make room for understanding. They don't care about training, or discipline, or responsible ownership. They only care about risk. For every attack on record, there are thousands of Dobermans living peacefully, serving as protectors, companions, even therapy animals. But bans don't see the full picture. They only see the potential for harm, not the potential for greatness. And so, in many places, the Doberman joins the list of restricted breeds. Not because of what it has done, but because of what it could do. But a reputation like this doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It follows. And the Doberman Pinscher, whether banned, feared, or misunderstood, continues to be exactly what it was always meant to be: a guardian, a protector, a force to be reckoned with. Number 5. Akita Inu. In Japan, the Akita Inu is more than just a dog. It's a symbol, a creature woven into the country's history, carrying a legacy of loyalty, strength, and unshakable spirit. But outside of its homeland, that same legacy has turned it into something else: a threat. A breed so powerful, so independent, that many governments refuse to allow it at all. Centuries ago, the Akita was bred for royalty. Samurai warriors used them as hunters, trackers, even guardians of their estates. This wasn't a lapdog. This was a breed built to stand its ground, to face down wild boars, bears, and anything else that dared to cross its path. And unlike most domesticated breeds, the Akita never lost that sense of authority. Today, that same commanding presence is why it's banned or restricted in countries like Spain, Ireland, and certain regions of the United States. Lawmakers claim the Akita is unpredictable, too territorial, too reserved around strangers. A breed that, once provoked, does not back down. And when it fights to win. But here's what those restrictions don't say. The Akita is not a dog that seeks conflict. It doesn't bark for attention. It doesn't lunge without purpose. It is a patient, watchful, and when bonded with a family, fiercely loyal. Stories of Akitas waiting years for their owners to return, unwavering, unmoving, have cemented their reputation as one of the most devoted breeds in history. But devotion comes with a price. An Akita does not forget. It does not forgive mistreatment. And in the wrong hands, it can become exactly what governments fear: powerful, dominant, unwilling to submit. And so, the bans remain. Not because of what the Akita is, but because of what people fear it could be. But a breed like this doesn't just disappear from history. Its presence lingers. Its legacy remains untouchable. And the Akita Inu, whether feared or revered, will always carry its place as one of the most formidable, yet deeply loyal, dogs the world has ever known. Number 4. Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Some dogs carry their history like a badge of honor. Others, like a curse. The Staffordshire Bull Terrier was never meant to be a villain. It was meant to be a fighter, yes, but not in the way most people think. It was built for endurance, for power, for loyalty. But in the wrong hands, strength becomes a weapon. And for the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, that weapon became its downfall. Its origins date back to 19th century England, where breeders sought a dog with the courage of a bulldog and the agility of a terrier. And they got exactly that. A compact, muscular powerhouse, capable of taking down animals twice its size. And when blood sports were outlawed, the breed didn't disappear. It adapted. It became a companion, a working dog, a protector of families. But its past never left it. Today, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier is banned or restricted in places like Germany, Switzerland, and parts of the United States. The reason? Fear. Fear of what it represents. Fear of what it might become if trained the wrong way. But here's what most people don't realize. This is not an inherently violent breed. In fact, among those who know them best, they're described as affectionate, loyal, even gentle. This is a dog that bonds deeply with its owner, thrives on human connection, and carries a reputation for being fiercely loving with children. But reputation doesn't erase fear. And once a breed is labeled dangerous, undoing that perception becomes nearly impossible. It doesn't matter if a well-raised Staffordshire Bull Terrier is no more aggressive than a Golden Retriever. It only matters that, if it does bite, it has the power to do damage. And so, the bans continue. In some places, owning one means following strict regulations. Muzzles, special permits, insurance policies. In others, it's not allowed at all. The Staffordshire Bull Terrier, a breed once known for its courage, now walks a fine line between protector and outlaw. But the people who truly know these dogs, they don't see a danger. They see a friend, a family member, a dog caught in the shadow of its own history, carrying a reputation that, fair or not, will never be forgotten. Number 3. Alabai, Central Asian Shepherd Dog. In the remote landscapes of Central Asia, where the winters are brutal and the predators relentless, survival is not a matter of luck. It's a matter of strength, a matter of dominance. And for centuries, one breed has stood at the center of that battle, the Alabai. A dog not bred for companionship, not for obedience, but for one thing only, protection. The Alabai, also known as the Central Asian Shepherd, is not a pet in the traditional sense. It was never meant to be. This is a guardian, a breed shaped by its environment, trained to defend livestock from wolves, bears, and anything that threatens what it considers its own. And unlike most modern dogs, the Alabai's instincts have never been softened by domestication. It doesn't simply guard. It decides. This level of independence, of sheer dominance, is exactly why so many governments have placed it under restriction. Banned in Denmark. Heavily regulated in Norway. Considered a high-risk breed in multiple countries. The concern? Unpredictability. A dog this large, this powerful, without the right training, without the right leadership, can become a force that no one can control. Because an Alabai does not submit. It does not take orders from just anyone. This is a dog that respects strength, both physical and mental. If it does not see its owner as a leader, it becomes the leader. And that's what makes it so dangerous in the wrong hands. It's not aggression. It's power. Unquestioned, unchallenged power. And yet, in its homeland, the Alabai is not feared, it is revered. In Turkmenistan, it is a national treasure. A symbol of endurance, of loyalty, of unbreakable will. Farmers and herders depend on them, not just as workers, but as protectors, standing between life and death in the harshest conditions on earth. But to governments outside of its homeland, that level of raw instinct is seen as a liability. So the laws remain. The bans hold. Because in a world that demands control, a breed that follows no rules but its own is a breed that many believe should not exist. Number 2. Pit Bull Terrier. Few breeds in history have been as controversial, as feared, as relentlessly debated as the Pit Bull Terrier. It is not just a dog, it is a symbol. A breed caught between devotion and destruction, between love and legislation, between those who swear by its loyalty, and those who want it gone forever. Banned in Canada, banned in the United Kingdom, banned in Australia, New Zealand, and dozens of regions across the United States. Governments claim they're dangerous, unpredictable. Their bite force, their tenacity, and their raw power make them too much of a risk. But those who own them, they tell a different story. The pit bull was never meant to be a villain. It was originally bred for work, for protection, for companionship. And at one point in history, it was known as America's dog. A family pet, a war hero, a breed trusted with children, even featured in advertisements as a symbol of strength and loyalty. But the moment humans saw its potential for violence, that reputation was rewritten. Dog fighting, illegal breeding, criminal exploitation. The pit bull terrier became a tool, a weapon in the hands of those who sought power. And when the fights ended, when the cages opened, the blame didn't fall on those who trained them to kill. It fell on the dogs themselves. This is why the bans exist. Authorities see the numbers, attacks, fatalities, high-profile cases where a pit bull turned deadly. But what they don't see, what they don't factor into their decisions, are the ones who never bite. The ones who live in homes, are raised with love, and never know aggression. The ones that prove time and time again that they are not monsters, unless they are made to be. And that's the real problem. It's not the breed. It's the people. The ones who breed them irresponsibly. the ones who raise them without boundaries, the ones who see them as status symbols instead of living beings, the ones who turn a dog's natural loyalty into something deadly. But laws don't differentiate between the good and the bad. They don't separate the victims from the criminals. They erase them all. Loved just as passionately as it is feared. A breed that is banned in places where its only crime was being born into a world that didn't protect it. A breed that, for better or worse, will always carry the weight of its reputation, whether it deserves it or not. Number 1. The most banned dog in the world. This is it. The breed that holds the title of the most banned dog in the world. A name spoken in debates, written in legal documents, etched into the fears of lawmakers across continents. A breed so controversial, so deeply misunderstood, that it is forbidden in more countries than any other. This is the American Pit Bull Terrier. A dog that has been outlawed in over 40 countries. A breed that is restricted, regulated, and, in some places, completely erased from legal ownership. Some call it a ticking time bomb. Others call it the most loving, loyal dog they have ever known. But one thing is certain, no other breed has been the target of bans more than this one. Governments claim the bans are necessary. That too many attacks, too many deaths, too many lives have been lost at the jaws of this breed. They point to statistics, to headlines, to courtroom testimonies where families demand justice after an incident they can never forget. And they believe the solution is simple: remove the breed, remove the risk. But is it that simple? Ask the people who own them, the ones who have raised them from puppies, and they will tell you a different story. They will say the bans don't protect people. They punish dogs. That a breed is not born dangerous. It is made dangerous. That aggression is not a bloodline trait, but a symptom of bad ownership. And that for every attack on record, there are thousands, millions, of pit bulls living peacefully in homes across the world. But the laws do not see the individual. They see the whole. And so, the American Pit Bull Terrier remains the most banned dog on the planet. Feared, misunderstood, judged by the actions of the few, sentenced without trial. A breed that has become more than just an animal. It has become a debate, a controversy, a political statement. And for now, that debate is far from over. We've seen the names. We've heard the stories. We know the statistics, the bans, the fear. But now comes the question that lingers over every law, every restriction, every decision that has erased these breeds from entire countries. Is it justified? Lawmakers argue that banning dangerous breeds is the only way to prevent attacks. That public safety outweighs the rights of individual owners. That when a dog has the potential to kill, regulation is not enough. Elimination is the only answer. And at first glance, it makes sense. Less risk, less danger, less loss. But does it actually work? The truth is, breed-specific legislation has never proven to reduce dog attacks. The numbers don't support it. In places where pit bulls have been banned, attacks from other breeds rise. When one dog is outlawed, another takes its place. And the cycle repeats. Because the real problem was never the breed. It was the people. The ones who train dogs for violence. The ones who neglect them. The ones who create the very aggression that governments claim to be fighting against. And yet, the laws don't target them. They target the dogs. They punish the symptom, not the disease. And so, millions of dogs are outlawed, confiscated, sometimes even euthanized, not because of what they've done, but because of what they could do. Because of a reputation they never asked for. Because fear is easier to legislate than accountability. So are these bans justified? That depends on who you ask. To some, they are necessary precautions, protecting people from the possibility of tragedy. To others, they are knee-jerk reactions, ineffective, unfair, and built on fear rather than fact. But one thing is certain: the bans exist. The laws remain. And for thousands of dogs around the world, that decision is final. So here we are, at the end of a list that isn't just about dogs, but about the way we see them. About fear, control, responsibility. About the fine line between protection and punishment. And now, the only question left is, what happens next? Because these laws are still in place, the bans still stand. The debate continues. Some people believe these dogs should never be allowed. Others fight every day to prove they deserve a chance. And in the middle, the dogs themselves. Waiting, existing, living under a reputation they had no part in creating. The truth is, this conversation isn't just about breed bans. It's about something bigger. It's about responsibility, ownership, understanding. Dogs don't choose the world they are born into, but people do. And maybe it's time we stop looking at what a breed could do, and start looking at what people should do. So now, it's your turn. What do you think? Should these bans exist? Or should the focus be on something else? On education, on responsible ownership, on laws that hold the right people accountable? Let me know in the comments, because conversations like this don't end when the video stops playing. They continue. And they should. And if you made it this far, thank you. For listening. For thinking. For questioning the things that so many people accept without a second thought. If you want more deep dives into stories like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you're ready to see another side of the world's most controversial dogs, check out the next video. It's one you won't want to miss.